Right, shall we start? Right. So we started financial management, and we know what is the core objective, and we know what are the two main functions or the two main decisions that you will be taking. Now, what is the objective? Objective is to maximize the shareholders' wealth. So, in an organization, especially in a company, you have all the shareholders. So we mean shareholders. Actually, we mean ordinary shareholders, because there will be a separate subtopic for you regarding shares, because two types of shares. Now here the ordinary shareholders. So what is the objective? To maximize their wealth. Maximize the wealth. So how we do that? By increasing market value of a share. Correct. Now, in order to do this, we need to make sure we properly obtain the funds for our business, right? For this business, we need to make sure we properly fund the business, right? So funding and financing, because in order to conduct a business, you need to have the resources or the fund requirements. So how you finance that? Financing, financial decisions. How to obtain? Or internally funds, externally, direct method, indirect method, short term, long term. For example, depending on the situation, why you need to go internally? Because your external debts are so high. Company we go for an internal source, maybe selling an asset, right? So then that have a very little impact to the total debt, because it's internal. Sometimes we already struggle with a lot of conditions from the loan providers. So we thought of obtaining internally, or the direct or indirect methods. Sometimes we require funds for a short-term requirements. Right? Maybe there are financial decisions, how to properly obtain. Properly obtain or make a properly utilize. So both need to be balanced. Then only you will be able to achieve this objective. You need to take what decisions? Investment decisions. Investment decision. By analyzing the fund requirements, somehow you finance it. Then you need to think of a way how you invest. Bank loan, let's say 500,000 or 1 million. And the bank loan salary ගෙදර ලොක එකේ හරි කබඩ් එකක දාලා තිබ්බා කියලා, right? ඒකේ මුදල වැඩි වෙන්නේ නැහැ. You need to utilize it. Then only you will be able to repay it, which is the liability amount plus the interest. The bank එකේ නිකන් loan එකක් දෙන්නේ නැහැ. They'll be charging you an interest. එහෙනම් interest එක ගෙවන්නත් loan repayment එක කරන්නත් මේක properly invest කරන්න ඕනේ. How we make a proper investment decision. So it's all about how you utilize the obtained funds. Or ලබාගත් funds share issue කරන්න පුළුවන්, bank loan වෙන්න පුළුවන්. asset sell කරලා වෙන්න පුළුවන්, commercial papers වෙන්න පුළුවන්. Right? So whatever the method you obtain, now how you utilize it properly to make sure you fulfill the shareholder expectations. Then the investment decisions පැත්තට ආවට පස්සේ අපි මේක කොටස් දෙකකට බෙදනවා. Long term decisions and short term decisions කියලා. ඒ කියන්නේ how you invest the short term purpose වලට. දැන් example එකකට හිතන්න ඔයාලගේ extra cash, ඔයාලගේ extra money විතර 100,000. Right? 100,000. එතකොට මේ ඔයාලට කෙටි කාලයකට ඔයාලට පුළුවන් මේ short term fixed deposit එක maybe 3 months or 1 month. නැත්නම් maybe share market එක දාන්න පුළුවන් කෙටි කාලයකට because you know your requirement is short term. ඒ නිසා investment decisions අපි ආපහු කොටස් දෙකකට බෙදනවා. In a short term investment, short term which bring you short term benefits, short term decisions and long term decisions which the benefit, right, for you to obtain a benefit it will take a long period of time. Now you today invest in a new machinery, you invest in a new factory, you are not getting the returns on the following day. Or business එකක් start කරොත් ඒක long term decision එකක්, ඒක long term investment එකක්. කවදාවත් ඔයාලට ඊළඟ දවසේ ඒක return එකක් ගන්න බෑ. It will take time to establish the business, you know, to have some market share, to increase sales. Even imagine you you thought of invest in a new product. The marketing වල අපි කතා කරා. නේද? එහෙනම් එකපාරට product එකක sale එක වැඩි වෙනවද? නැහැ. එහෙනම් product development stage එක, introduction එක, growth ඊතර ගිහිල්ලා තමයි growth එකක් තියෙන්නේ. එහෙනම් growth එකට යන්න it will take time. Surely. Right? එහෙනම් ඔයාලට තියෙනවා short term invest කරන්න පුළුවන්. Short term investment, long term investment. දැන් මේ වෙලාවෙත් ඔයාලට පුළුවන් short term investment එකක් කරන්න. මොනවද දන්නවද? අතේ සල්ලි කීයක් හරි තියනවා නම් මොනවාරි goods ටිකක් ගෙදරට ගෙනාවා නම් එක්කෝ even for like your consumption or maybe to sell. වැඩි අවශ්‍ය නැහැ නේද? සීනි කිලෝ 100ක් විතර ගෙනාවා නම් ඔයාලට ඊළඟට වැඩි ගාණක් විකුණන්න පුළුවන්. 1 kg of sugar now I heard that it's 320. I don't know it's true or 321 kg. මේ ඊට කලින් ඊට අඩුවට තිබුණා මම හිතන්නේ 280ට තිබුණා 260ට තිබුණා. දැන් මට මේ දැන් ඇහුණා මේ 320යි කියන 1 kg. දැන් බලන්න 280 දී නේද කිලෝ 100ක් විතර ගෙනලා තිබ්බනම් you can sell it. And a short term investment එකක්. You invest in debtors, you sell on credit basis, short term. You invest in stocks. Then stocks are අවුරුදු ගණන් ගොඩක් ලා තියාගන්න නැහැ. Yeah, surely. So these type of, you know, belongs to short term investment decisions. Short term investment ගොඩක් තියෙන. Even අපිට 3 months නේද 1 month වගේ තවට fixed deposits පවා ගන්න පුළුවන් chance එකක් තියෙනවා. පැහැදිලිද? ඒ වගේම අපි කතා කරපු අර government securities market එකේ වඩ මතකයි නේද මොනවාද? Treasury bills තියෙනවා නේද? Treasury bills comes under short term. Treasury bills comes under short term. Treasury bills. ඒ වගේම invest in stocks. Right? Invest in debtors. මේ ඔක්කොම ආර short term benefits කියලා දෙන short term investment. කෙටි කාලයකදී ඔයාලට benefit එකක් ගන්න පුළුවන්. ෂණිකයි නේද? ෂණික noodles වගේ. හරි. Long term investment කියන්නේ it will take time. Example එකක් විදිහට you know starting a business or maybe you try to modify your business, upgrade your business, upgrade your system, right? Upgrade your machineries. Investing in a new product innovation or product development. So it will take time for surely. But you know, you will get in the long run, you will get a lot of benefits, right? Benefits ප්‍රමාණය වැඩි. ඉතින් ඔන්නෝක තමයි investment පැත්තේ තියෙන්නේ. Investment opportunities ගැන අපි වෙනම discuss කරනවා. Shares, debentures, government securities ගැන ආවට වෙනම topic එකක් තියෙනවා. share market එක හරි ඒක අපි කතා කරනවා. ඊට අද අපේ lesson එකේ plan එක අපි investment decision ගැන කතා කරලා අපි යනවා financial analysis එහෙම නැත්නම් ratio analysis එකක් කරන්න. So how we try to identify the performance of a business and the financial position of a business. Right, now let's complete this part. You don't have to take this actually. Everything will be in the tute. අපි tute එක පැත්තට පොඩ්ඩක් කියමු. මම තාම tute එක මම post කරලා තියෙන්නේ. You will get it. Right. හරි එහෙනම් මේ බලන්න. අපිට note එකක් දැනට දාගන්න පුළුවන් tute එක base කරගෙන. Can you all come to page number 10? Page number 10. Employing the funds belongs to a business, within the business or outside the business. Oh, සමහරට ඔයාගේ business එකේ invest කරන්නත් පුළුවන්, business එකෙන් එළිය invest කරන්නත් පුළුවන්. ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. Right? Example එකක් විදිහට අපි දන්න සමහර companies වලට වෙන companies වල shares තියෙනවා. No issue. So which they have invested outside the business. නැත්නම් ඒගොල්ලන්ගේම business එකට අලුත් machineries purchase කරා, so they invest within the business. ඒ නිසා investment කියන එක it's just like how we obtain the funds. අපි organization එක ඇතුලෙන් funds ගන්න හදනවා, එළියෙන් funds ගන්න හදනවා. Right, so can we highlight employing the funds belong to a business, within the business or outside the business is known as an investment, and the decision made for them are known as the investment decision. Right. Just write a topic, subtopic, investment decision. So then can we have this chart, please? So investment decision, you have to divide into two parts. කොටස් දෙකකට බෙදන්න වෙනවා. Right. මේ බලන්න. එහෙනම් පළවෙනි එක අපි ලියමුද short term investment decisions. Short term investment decisions. Right. So likewise, working capital decision killer. This need to be short term. Short term investment decisions and long term investment decisions. Api long term capital investment killer. Can you remember that we divided government expenditure into two parts, capital expenditure and recurrent expenditure. Capital expenditure all the capital projects that you are investing. So likewise, short-term investment working capital decisions short-term financial decision short-term the capital working capital requirements working capital decisions and capital investment decisions for the long term. So you can invest in cash, even you can purchase like foreign currency, cash, because some collect foreign currency, because to gain some capital gain. And you can invest on debtors, you can sell on debtors, so then you can collect the money later. And you can invest in a stock because the stock price will be increased, and short-term investment, and also securities and others. Securities and others, which mean the government securities or something like treasury bills short term. So you can invest in treasury bills. Example, treasury bills. So this is how you try to invest the obtained funds, or the short term benefits ගන්න පුළුවන්, long term benefits ගන්න පුළුවන්. Right. So when we move to the capital investment, establishment of a business එකක් start කරන්න, modernizing the business or expanding the business. එතන දාන්න expanding කියලා, expanding the business. Expanding the business. Expanding the business, diversifying the business. You try to develop new product or invest in different sectors, or you invest in fixed assets, not the long-term securities. For example, treasury bonds, and fixed assets, something like you invest in properties. I would say land, property, and land, or real estate. So those stuff that we can classify under long-term investment decisions. So when you say diversifying the business, introduction of a new product. I'm just saying examples. Introduction of a new product, or a product development. Introduction of a new product development. So these and also invest in a different sector. 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 Right, guys. So can I give you like another 2 minutes for this? So then we'll come to the how you make a correct investment decision. Then we can move to the ratio analysis. Right. So let's move to the how we take a correct investment decisions. කොහොමද අපි හරියට investment එකක් කරන්නේ? So in the same manner, since the things such as obtaining the maximum use of the business resources, ability to identify optional investment opportunities, selection of an investment of a higher benefits, and takes place through investment decisions. So they goes for the success for the business. Right. හරියනම් අපි දැන් මතකද අපි financial decision එකක් ගත්තී මොනවා ගැනද හිතන්නේ? අපි කොච්චර funds require වෙනවද? ඒකේ cost එක, interest එක කොහමද? Conditions කොහමද? And what are the terms and conditions that we have to sign? And ඒක කොහොමද අපේ debt capital structure එකට impact වෙන්නේ? ඉතින් ඒ විදිහට අපි ඒ වගේ ownership එකට මොනවා හරි impact එකක් තියනවාද? අපි ඒ financial decision එක නිසා එහෙම ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා. Right. So ඉතින් මේ විදිහට අපිට පුළුවන් investment එකකදී මොනවාද අපිට decision එකක් ගන්න, right, for investment. එහෙනම් මොනවද investment එකේදී ඔයා මුලින්ම හිතන්න ඔයාලගේ තියෙනවා 500,000. So you are, looking for an investment method, the investment opportunity. Right, guys, what do you think? If you have 100,000 or 500,000, it doesn't matter the amount, right? So somehow you are looking for investment opportunity. Let's say you have 500,000 into, right? Rupees, not dollars. So 500,000 rupees, right? So what sort of thing that you will consider? Now you want to invest. දැන් මේක තියාගෙන ඉඳලා වැඩක් නැහැ. මොකද the purchasing value or the purchasing power of money is decreasing at this point because of high inflation, right? In නිසා 500,000 වලින් ඔයා මොනවද කරන්නේ? Right? So you want to invest, so then you need to think of some factors. ඉතින් අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම දැන් අපි financial decision එකදී කතා කරේ the cost, අනිත් පැත්තෙන් අපිට ගන්න පුළුවන් මේ පැත්තේ නා return of the investment, return, because why you are investing to get a return for that. So this could be a fixed deposit, or maybe like shares, or like government securities, or maybe a land, building, or property, or even could be a vehicle, right? Or new machinery. So whatever the investment method, could be short term, could be long term. So you will be thinking about the return, right? Why not make a return? The returns of the investment. Return එකක් එක්ක අපිට එන අනිත් වචනේ මොකක්ද? When we say when there's a return, when there's a high return, there's a high risk as well. එහෙනම් investment එකක තියෙනවා risk එකක්. So we have to think the risk as well. So high risk, high returns. If you want to have a high return, you can just take a high risk. එහෙනම් අපිට return එක දැන් ගොඩක් කරලා ඔයා හිතනවා හරි. මේක ගිහිල්ලා දානවා finance company එක, not a bank. Finance company, right? Finance company එක දැම්මට පස්සේ සමහරවිට වැඩිපුර අපි මේ ගැන කතා කරා. Right, guys? මතකද lesson number 7 එකේදී අපි කිව්වා banks වල ටිකක් rate එක අඩුයි. හැබැයි finance companies වලට වැඩි rate එකක් දෙන හැබැයි risk එක නම් වැඩි කියලා. හරිද? ඒ ඔයාලට පුළුවන් මේක FD එක උනත් ගිහිලා bank එකක දාන්න නැත්නම් financial company එකක දාන්නත් පුළුවන්. Bank එකක another two option. Bank එකක financial company කියන්නේ අපි කියන්නේ LFC කියලා license financial company දාන්න පුළුවන්. ඒතර එතනදී ඔයාලට return එක වෙයි. අපි දෝ bank එකේ කියන 116ක් දෙනවා කියලා. financial company එක 122ක් දෙනවා කියලා. හැබැයි එතන risk එක වැඩි වෙන්න පුළුවන්. හරිද? ඉතින් then you need to think about the return of the investment. එහෙනම් FD එකක නම් interest එක ලැබෙනවා. Right? Shares and dividends, government securities, whatever the benefit or the return, land or building, or maybe capital gain, right? නැත්නම් මේක rent කරන්න, lease කරන්න පුළුවන්. Vehicle, or maybe give on rent, or machineries, right? So then we think about the return and also the risk of the company, right? What else, guys? How we think මේකත් එක්ක අපිට why don't we think about the cost? Right? Investment cost investment cost. So that also we need to think. For example, api kata kara long-term investment decision. Establishing a company, product development, introducing a new product, or the product diversification. The business diversification enang animarenma එතනදී ඔයාට cost එකක් යනවා. So your cost. අනිත් පැත්තේ you are think about the liquidity. මොකක්ද liquidity කියලා කියන්නේ? දැන් හිතන්න ඔයා business එකක් කරනවා. ඔයා ළඟ තියෙන cash in hand. Right? Cash in hand. 750,000 rupees cash. දැන් ඔයා ගිහිල්ලා මේ 750ම ඉන්වෙස්ට් කරලා හරියනවද? මොකද වෙන්නේ 750 මේ කියන්නේ ඔයාලගේ තියෙන හැම රුපිය එකක්ම ඔයා ඉන්වෙස්ට් කරලා ඔයා මේකම ගිහලා දාන සේවිංස් account එකට. එතකොට ඊළඟ දවසේ කොහොමද ඔයාගේ එම්ප්ලොයිස් වලට සැලරි ගෙවන්නේ? ඊළඟ දවසේ සප්ලයි එනවා කොහොමද පේමන්ට් එක කරන්නේ? So how do you manage? අහෙනවල පැහැදිලි. Right? So you have to think about the liquidity, the working capital requirements. Right? Correct? You need to have proper cash flow in the business. තියෙන හැම සල්ලියම ගිහලා ඉන්වෙස්ට් කරලා නැත්නම් සේව් කරලා හරියන්නේ නැහැ. So that's what you think about the liquidity of the company. Right? And also you have to think about the market conditions, especially the economic and political stability. දැන් මේ වෙලාවේ කවුරු හරි ඉන්වෙස්ට් කෙනෙක් ටිකක් රිස්ක් එකක් කියලා හිතයි ලංකාවේ ඉන්වෙස්ට් කරන එක. And also maybe due to inflation and some of the negative economic indicators. So the market conditions also matters. Right? Market conditions also matters. So likewise, guys, you need to think about these criteria before you make a proper invest. In a proper invest එකක් කරොත් තමයි ඔයාලට පුළුවන් වෙන්නේ shareholders ලගේ objectives fulfill කරන්න. Right, factors key pack දාලා තියෙනවා. අපි ඒකේ point form එකෙන් විතරක් දාගමු. Explanation එක is already there. So can we write the subtopic? So factors to be considered when investing. Factors to be considered when investing. Factors to be considered when investing. So then you have to put the number 1, return on the investment. So just write the point explanation. You can get it later. Returns of the investment. Return on investment. එයා ඔයාගේ cost එකට හරියන්න ඔයාට හොඳ return එකක් තියනවද බලන්න පුළුවන්. නේද? example එකක් විදිහට ඔයා මොනවා හරි estate එකක් purchase කරනවා, land එකක්, building එකක්. එහෙනම් මේකේ මට proper return එකක් ලැබෙවිද කියන එක you need to think. Right? The return on the investment. And the next one is the risk of the investment. Risk එක ගැන බලන්න වෙනවා. Risk of the investment. risk එක කිව්වොත් ඉතින් හැමදාම risk එකක් තියෙනවා. So everyone is exposed to some type of a risk every day, whether it's from driving or walking down the street, investing, capital planning, or something else. Guys, there's always a risk, right? So we are exposed to a risk every day. It not always when you invest, right, in your day-to-day life, but especially when you come to investing, yes, the risk is there. The risk is, guys, two things. මේ risk එක අපිට කොටස් දෙකකට බෙදන්න පුළුවන්. Investment risk එක මේ බලන්න. මේ risk එක තමයි එකක් risk on the amount you invest. When the risk is high, return is higher too. Yes. Oh, Vanivarit, that is correct. That we discussed actually. High risk, high return. The මොනවාද investment එකක තියෙන risk දෙක? Two types of risk. Two types of risk. Now let's get the example of best example. Shares versus bank FD. මේ බලන්න. Risk දෙක තමයි. So one thing is the risk on invested amount of investment. Or as I would say, ability to get back the amount you invested. එක risk එකක්. The risk of the ability to get the invested amount. එක risk එකක්. So you are exposed to one type of risk. අනිත් එක තමයි risk on return. ඒ කියන්නේ අපිට මේක return එකක් ලැබෙවිද නැද්ද කියන එක. දැන් හොඳම example එක ඔයා සමහරට share market එකේ invest කරා කියන්නකෝ. ඔන්න share market. Right? Share market. So you invest this 500,000. හරිනම් මේකේ මොකද්ද risk එක? සමහරලාට මේ 500,000ම නැති වෙන්නත් පුළුවන්. නැත්නම් ඒකෙන් කොටසක් නැති වෙන්න පුළුවන්. The risk on the amount you invested. That sometimes maybe there are no dividends, but your money is safe. So the ability to get back the amount you invest, 500,000, right? Correct. Now you invest in a land or a building. So maybe even you are not in a position to get a return out of that, but the amount you invest is safe. හැබැයි FD එකක් වගේ දැම්මොත් අනිවාර්යෙන්ම දාපු මුදල safe. හැබැයි සමහරට දැන් ওই financial companies වගේ වල invest කළා අපි දකිනවා නේද? ඒ මුදලුත් ඒගොල්ලන්ට අහිමි වෙනවා. So now they are saying at least give us our money, we don't need the interest. So they are saying we don't need the return, at least give our money that we invested. හරි එහෙනම් මොකද එතකොට so any investor is exposed to two type. එකක් තමයි යාට recover කරගන්න පුළුවන් the amount එක invest කරපු සහ return. So what we expect on returns actually, but at least even when there's no return, we could be to some extent be satisfied. At least our money is safe. So when you invest in like a machinery or a vehicle, sometimes, and imagine invest in a business, you end up with a loss. So which means you are exposed to a risk to able to get back the amount. It could be the capital is decreasing, gradually due to losses. So which means the amount you invested. Risk එක අපි amount කරකක්. දැන් example එකක් විදිහට you invest in a stocks මේ බලන්න stocks. දැන් අර පෞද්ගලික දවස්වල ගොඩක් dollars එහෙම කට්ටිය එකතු කරානේ. හරි හිතන්න ඩොලර් එක ගොඩාක් දැන් පල්ලෙහාට ආවා කියලා. හරි එහෙනම් ඔතන යාට stock loss එකක් තියෙනවා. දැන් සාමාන්‍ය වෙන්නේ නැති දෙයක්. මේ බලන්න. දැන් අය ගොඩක් වෙලාවට මේ wholesale එහෙම නැත්නම් මේ distributors ලා stocks හංගන්නේ. ආයෙත් දාන price එක increase වෙනවා කියලා. So then they get the high return. මේ බලන්න. දැන් හිතමු අපි stock කරගන්නවා fuel. හිතනවා fuel distributor කෙනෙක් කොහොම හරි legally or illegally fuel stock කරගන්නවා. fuel ගන්න අපි හිතමු 400 liter or liter 10,000 වගේ 10,000. Badly there. Right. Now let's say I don't think this will happen. Now let's imagine a situation like that. Suddenly fuel prices drop to 250 rupees. Imagine such a good news. So let's say Russia agreed to provide us fuel and 250 liter diesel liter 250 petrol ඊටත් පොඩක් වැඩි. හරි. දැන් මොකද වෙන්නේ? දැන් market price එක government එක කියනවා breaking news එකක් යනවා 250 diesel liter. පැහැදිලිද? හරි. එහෙනම් දැන් මොකද වෙන්නේ? now you are loss. මොකද ඔයාලා දැන් මේක 400 වලට sell කරගන්න බෑ. එහෙනම් ඔයා invest කරපු amount එකට risk එකක් තියෙනවා. ඒ වගේම මොකද දැන් ඔයා expect කරේ at least to sell 410 or 420 because that is your return, right? You purchased on 400 10,000 liters, so this is your investment cost and you know thought of selling to 425 liter 10,000, correct? Now even you are not able to cover up the amount you invested because you know the market price has been dropped to 250, so then 250 into 10,000. So that's the chance of the investment as actual gains, right? Receive to the possible losing sum of all the original investment. Yes. In America, picking a word data my original investment risk but we invest karana opportunity at least we are able to cover up the original investment value, so that also kind of a relief for us. Because there's no loss, even we didn't receive any return, at least our money is safe. So that's the point. Let's let's see the explanation. So risk is defined in financial terms as the chance that an outcome of or investment's actual gains will differ from the expected one. The risk can actual gains differ when the expected outcome So risk includes possible losing some or all of the original investment. In original investment එක නැති වෙන්න පුළුවන්, return එකට exposure එකක් තියෙන්න පුළුවන්. And our third point, guys, shall you write the third point, please? Liquidity. Liquidity. So liquidity refers to the efficiency or ease with which an asset or a security can be converted into ready cash without affecting its market price. Right? So how quickly you can convert your assets to cash, which with the minimum impact to the market price. Then cash karna kila 1 million purchase කරපු දෙයක් 100,000 වල sell කරන්නේ නැහැ. So how quickly quickly කරගන්න පුළුවන් වෙයි. නමුත් impact in the market value. එහෙම market value එකට effect එකක් නැතුව how quickly you can convert your assets, right, to the cash. And the most liquid asset of all is the cash itself. Again, the types of money, notes and coins, or the currency, 100% liquidity because it's in the already form of cash. Right. So you have to think about the liquidity, guys. Stocks kila. Ate tina hammer antima rupiyala wenakam stock gattoti anna wage liquidity එක අඩු වෙනවා. Right? So likewise, you have to think about before you invest. Risk of uncertainty. Risk of uncertainty. As we can just write uncertainty. Risk of uncertainty. අපි දන්නවා එකපාරම economic crisis, COVID වගේ දේවල්, uncertain situation, political instability. Right? Risk of uncertainty. So there's always a level of risk and uncertainty when investing, which is increased in times of wars. Then we never thought of seeing a war again, especially what happened in Ukraine and Russia. So it has impacted a lot for our economy, especially those the gas and fuel prices have been increasing in the world market, right? And now, especially even the impact in the tourism side as well, because we used to receive a lot of tourists from Ukraine, right? So Ukraine is one of good destination for Ukrainian tourists, but that has been, the numbers has been decreased drastically. And also the tension in Russia as well, right? So and recessions, economic recession, the crisis, pandemics, and maybe other negative occurrences. එනිසා මේ වගේ uncertain දේවල් පාට මත ඒකත් අනිවාර්යෙන්ම. So what certain is uncertain, right? What certain is uncertain. So that we have to somehow face. So when hard time come, investors move their money out of equities to a safe assets, such as precious metals, government bonds, and money market instruments. Oh, good. Investments. Now, I don't think none of the investors will go to Ukraine and invest in business, right? Because of the tension. I would say, like in Sri Lanka, what happens with it, right? So then they'll try to move, especially what happens due to the economic crisis. The share market drops timely because they try to sell their assets, their shares, and move the money back from the country. And also now a lot of industries are thinking moving out from Sri Lanka. That's a really bad situation, guys. Due to this fuel crisis, transportation issues, because they cannot transport employees, materials, there are no dollars, for them to import materials, a lot of restrictions. So why they stay? Because there are so many competitive locations. You can move to India, Bangladesh, Vietnam, right? China even. So they might think of moving their factories out, especially now the apparel sector in such a risk. So we never know when they take the decision to move out. And also there's some franchise business also looking forward to move out, like KFC, Pizza Hut. So that's what. So investments will be moving out from the country. So that's a risk due to uncertainty. So that's a risk we face as a country as well. රටේ නම් ඒ වෙලාවකදී investors ලා ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ funds move කරනවා. So you think about the uncertainty. So that's one of the factor you'll be think before you invest. That's all the explanations have been provided to you. Uncertainty impacts the economy on both the micro and macro level. On the micro level, it focuses on companies and individuals, and while on the macro level, it focuses on the overall economy, like global oil prices. Yes, guys, because the micro level, microeconomics, you focus on separate individuals or just one firm, and that have a lot of consequences. For example, there are costs of the unit production prices, cost of production, because wages or the materials prices going up, and then they have to increase sales because of the increase of the selling price of a good. Maybe the demand will decrease. When the demand decreases and price increases, maybe the total sales volume decreases. A lot of struggled, and also as you see as individuals, the cost of living has been increased drastically, and the income level, the quality of living, and other costs as well. Sometimes, your time waiting on queues, that also, and you are stressed, not a mental relief for you, right, at this stage. So all comes with the cost at a micro level, which is for individuals and businesses. And it hit to the macro level as well. The economy's indicators, the economy's rankings, the credit ratings goes down, and now as a bankrupt country without paying, the inability to pay debts, so it impact the macro level as well, right? So that sort of uncertainty is there. So you have to think about, but you never know when the uncertainty arises, but maybe certain assumptions that we can make, at least to avoid this situation. So it's always there, uncertainty. So that my factor good up my explain even you can put a star mark as well, guys, number 4. So being well informed and adjusting your investment strategy as events change over time will allow you to invest wisely during uncertain times. You know, the more info you have, the more accurate decision that you can make. So you have to think about the strategy. Now when I'm in such a situation, so the investors, both Sri Lankan and foreign, they need to think about the strategy. So how they survive or how they thrive their business in uncertain time. And also diversification is a key investment strategy that prevents significant losses if one area of your portfolio takes a serious hit. Right? Yes. So having a diversified, a conglomerate company. So we'll, in a diversification means not just a product wise, maybe location wise. Like location location. The Lanka location making profits in there, but from the other locations you made a good profit. So that somehow you can survive. So diversification in terms of market wise, in terms of the location, and also in terms of the product wise. So then you can face for uncertainties. It's a good point, diversification. So that's all about the uncertainty. And the legal matters, yes, legal conditions you have to think about. Some are business Lankawe karana baha. ඒවට legal condition තියෙනවා, special approvals ඕනේ, license ගන්න වෙනවා, right? But compared to other countries, there are high level of legal conditions. නේද? අපිට ගිහිල්ලා plane එකක් උනත් නවත්තන්න පුළුවන්, fly කරන එක, that sort of the legal conditions. But it impact other ways because අනිත් countries වල legal conditions අඩුයි නම් ඉක්මනට approvals ලැබෙනවා නම්, because why they wait? So they will start investing in other locations. So you have to think about the legal condition. So advise investors with regard to the legal aspects and granting approvals to the investor. The Lanka, what is called these investment development board, IDB, right? So investment board approval for all the foreign investments. So maybe delays, maybe taking commissions, so maybe other advantages those officers might get, and also the time it will take to approve a project. So it will discourage or not a good motivation, not a good impression to the investor. So companies in relation to matters such as investor company, incorporation, and connected documentation or some other. අහන්න documents ගන්න පුළුවන් නේද හරි සීයාගේ birth certificate එක, birthplace of the grandfather ඔය වගේ documents උත් අහන්න පුළුවන්. So high documentation නම් අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම ඒතර එතනත් discourage එකක් වෙනවා. And a company related corporate affairs, land matters impacting approvals, labor laws, ඉතින් මේ වගේ හැම legal condition එකක් ගැනම අපිට හිතන්න වෙනවා. Before you invest, think about the legal conditions. So shall we write the point? Only the point, guys. Legal conditions. Any points you already printed. Balanda. Environmental factors. We have to think about the environment laws and environment factors. Yes, I think today's World Environment Day, right? Today or yesterday? June 8th. Some other dates cannot product. Is that correct? Today's a World Environment Day. June 5th, no? That's June 5th. Well, okay. And the cost of the investment, yes, and influence on the operations. Business existing operations making impact එකක් වේද නැත්නම් business එකේ තියෙන දැනට කරගෙන යන business එක කරගෙන යන බැරි වේද ඒ වගේ ප්‍රශ්න තවත් තියෙනවා. So influence on operations. Right, එහෙනම් ඔන්න ඔය ටික තමයි අපිට කතා කරන්න තියෙන investment decision. Now let's move to the ratio analysis part. Financial statement analysis එහෙම නැත්නම් ratio analysis. Well, I think දැන් පොඩ්ඩක් accounting පැත්තට තමයි බාර වෙන්න මේක. Guys, can I know who is not studying accounting? I think Naomi, Guyana, no, right? Accounting කරන්න නැහැ නේද? Both no? What about Naomi? Are you at least for O-level you have an idea, right? O-level accounting කරලා තියෙනවා, commerce both? Yes. හරි නම් idea එකක් තියෙනවා. හරි මේ බලන්න. දැන් ඉතින් business studies නෙමෙයි now accounting class. So that's why I said you business studies, it's really a fruit salad, right? It's a mix of subjects. Right, guys, how to start? Right. So we know in accounting, guys, we have accounting process. So we have like let's say input and accounting process. And finally we have the output. Normally, accounting is that the prior objective of accounting is to give the information to the to the stakeholders to make decisions, right? Look at the business stakeholders have decisions done. We need to communicate financial information, right? So in a business, guys, the transactions and events, I would say transactions, right, will be happening. Transactions. So as the input, for example, sale of making a cash sale or a credit sale, purchasing of goods, paying, receiving money from a debtor, credit sales, credit purchases, purchasing of asset, paying expenses, all the business transactions. So then we have accounting process where first we record those in prime entry books. Then subjects will you maintain separate books. So likewise for main transaction, you try to maintain separate books like cash book, your petty cash book, or the journals. Right? For each and for similar types of transaction, you will be maintaining a separate book, the prime entry. So then you will try to pause into the ledger, right? So ledger is the place where you have all types of accounting, because there are 5 elements called assets, liabilities, equity, income, and expenses. The main 5 elements of accounting, right? So you pause to the ledger. From the ledger, you'll be preparing a trial balance. So from the trial balance, you'll be preparing financial statement that we consider as the output of the accounting. So for example, here there are a set of financial statements, but at your level, we focus on income statement, which is also known as a profit and loss statement, and also the SOFP, which is the statement of financial position or the balance sheet. Financial position. And also the cash flow statement. Cash flows, right? Which is the cash inflow and the cash outflow. Cash in and cash out. Guys, the income statement will give you the financial performance of the business. Financial performance again. Basically, it's about profit or loss. Perform කරලාද profit එකක් එන්න විදිහට perform කළාද loss එකක්ද? So if it is a profit, how much? And if it is a loss, how much? And SOP is a statement of financial position. As the name suggests, it's about your financial stability, I would say, or the financial strength. Financial stability. Assets, equity, and liabilities. And finally, cash flow statement is about cash in and cash out. Business. Cash in, cash out. So what are the ways of cash in and cash out from the business? Finally, the balance of cash. Right. Now we know that by looking at those statements, you can end up with, to some extent, for example, when you look at the income statement, say there's a profit of 500,000, but it's a kind of a limited information that you are providing. So when you have a limited info, you will end up with limited scope of making decisions. So likewise, we need to further analysis this stuff. So that's what we come with the financial statement analysis, or else we say ratio analysis. So, because why? In order to fully understand the set of financial statements, you need to have some sort of accounting knowledge. But here, even without having a proper accounting knowledge, because not all the owners, not all the businessmen having accounting knowledge. For example, maybe a doctor who is running a private hospital or a dispensary, or maybe a lawyer who has a legal firm, or an engineer who's having a construction company. Not much exposed to accounting, but later they try to have some basic understanding. But it's better to have, but have without any knowledge. But so they are not in a position to deeply analyze the financial statement, and they take the decision based on the figures mentioned. But those financial statements we can analyze to give a better outcome. So whereas the stakeholders can take decisions, right? Mega koda simplifies karala ratios use karala make analyze karala. So then everyone will get an understanding even without a basic accounting knowledge. Right. Yes, what we can do? Can we have this snapshot, please? Yes, TB means the trial balance. You don't have to much worry about that if you don't know what is trial balance. That is fine, right? But I want you to give an idea about the output of accounting, which is the financial statement. So 3 types of financial statement mainly, right? So TB means trial balance. Some sort of process that will be following, and once the process is done, it's like a manufacturing process, or a conversion process here, right? Prime entry books, then ledger to trial balance. So then you, based on the trial balance, you prepare the income statement. And our pull main statement analyze karana. Right. Shall we come back to the tune? The technique of analyzing the financial statement, again, which is the output of the accounting, right? For calculating the financial ratios. So financial ratios are important to understand the functioning and the financial condition of a business. You can add financial statement as a kind of a summarized information. The profit the loss. But you can do some analysis and try to understand a lot of information and get an idea about the business through the ratios. Right. Harmona financial statements tonight. Can we write it again? Three financial statements that we mainly consider, which is income statement. අපි මේ SOF theory කියන balance sheet කියලා. Can we write those? Income statement එක SOFP එහෙම නැත්නම් මේක තවත් වචනයක් කියන අපි balance sheet කියලා. Balance sheet. Right. So guys, when it comes to the ratios, අපි ratios main types හතරක් ගැන කතා කරනවා. පල්ලෙහා තියෙනවා. Financial ratios can be classified into 4 ways. මේ හතර ගැන අපි කතා කරනවා. එහෙනම් first one එක තමයි liquidity ratios. Liquidity ratios. So liquidity ratios is all about how the business strength to meet their short-term liabilities or short-term financial requirements. එහෙනම් කොහොමද business එකට short-term liquidity එකක් තියනවද? ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ day-to-day expenses manage කරගන්න පුළුවන්ද? So then we have profitability ratios. Profitability ratios. In our business එකේ profit එක කොහොමද have they performed well? Right, so profit also we divide into two, say gross profit and the net profit. අපි ඒවා ගැන කතා කරමු. Profitability ratios, profitability. And then you have activity ratios. Business performance ගැන අපි කතා කරනවා through activity ratios. And finally you have leverage ratios. Leverage ratios. So this is about how you can meet the long-term debt requirements. So how the capital, the structure between the capital and the structure between the debts or the loans that will be discussed. So shall we have this as well? So 4 classification, the 4 types of ratios that we'll be discussing. One is liquidity ratios, profitability ratios, activity ratios, and leverage ratios. අපි මේ leverage ratios වල තවත් word එකක් කියනවා gearing ratios කියලා. Gearing. Gearing ratios. Right, guys. So now let's move with the liquidity ratios. First one, liquid ratios. There are two things that we need to discuss. Comes under the liquidity ratios. So shall we write a topic? Liquidity ratios. Liquidity ratios. Yeah, it comes under the liquid ratios. There are two things that we need to discuss. Ratios දෙකක් ගැන අපි කතා කරනවා. එකක් තමයි current ratio and quick ratio. Current ratio and quick ratio. Current ratio and quick ratio. Now first, let's see what we mean by the liquidity ratios. එකමක් ටියුට් එකට එන්න එතනින් explain කරලා අපි ඉමු example එකකට. Yes, this is the meaning of the liquidity ratios. Liquidity ratio shows the ability to a business to meet the short-term bonds or liabilities. Similarly, this ratio is used to identify the short-term solvency. Now, you guys remember the solvency test that we discussed? අපි කතා කරේ company එකක public company එකක solvency test එකක් කරන්න ඕන. But private companies වල කරන්න අවශ්‍ය නැහැ. මේ බලන්න. Now, first, guys, you need to identify what are current assets and current liabilities. දැන් මම ඔයාලට සරල කතාවක් කියන්නද? Now, forget about a business. Think about yourself, right? So, also think about a household or one person, right? අපි නිකන් individual කෙනෙක් ගැන ගමු මුලින්ම individual. Right. Now let's say a student කෙනෙක්. Individual student. හිතන්න මේ student higher studies කරනවා එක්කෝ ඉන්නේ වෙනම board වෙලා නැත්නම් වෙන රටක, right? අපි දුන්නේ international student කෙනෙක් කියලා. right, මොනවද වෙන්නේ මේ බලන්න. So guys, මේ student තියෙන ආගේ අතේ cash 50,000 cash. ඒ වගේම මොනාරි හිතන්න bank account එකෙත් 20,000, right? අනිත් පැත්තෙන් right මෙයාගේ tuition fees නැත්නම් course fee අපි දුම් මේ semester එකට course fee එකක් තියනවා ගෙවන්න 45,000, right? 45,000. Like for transport, he or she needs like 10,000, right? Let's say transport to ගෙවන්න තියනවා කියලා මොනාරි transport service එකකට, right? යා transport service එකක් use කරනවා. transport service එකට 10,000 ගෙවන්න වෙනවා. course fee එක. ඊට පස්සේ අපිට මෙයා ඉන්නේ hostel එක කියලා hostel, right? So hostel fee එක ගෙවන්න තියෙනවා again 20,000, right? ඊට අමතරව මොනවාද spends? ඊට අමතරව I think entertainment ඒ වගේ දේවල් අපිට ගන්න පුළුවන්. but mainly මේ විදිහට student කෙනෙක් course fee, transport ඒ වගේ මොනාරි stationaries වලට නේද education materials ඒ වගේ මෙයාට මොනාරි Wi-Fi නැත්නම් internet connection එකට pay කරන්න වෙයි නේද internet bill එක so internet bill 5000 education materials වලට නේද university එකට නැත්නම් institute එකට ගෙවන්න වෙනවා again 12000 now my simple question is this individual student is this student in a good situation good situation obviously no right මොකද යාගේ current assets තියෙනවා only 70000 හැබැයි මේ 70000 වලින් තමයි යාට මෙන්න මේ payables ටික කරන්න වෙන්නේ එහෙනම් හැබැයි ඔයාලට පැහැදිලි මෙතන ඊට වඩා වැඩි කීයක් තියනවද නිකන් roughly බලුවොත් 50 60 80 92000 වගේ තියෙනවා 92000 so you are having a 70000 current assets but you have a set of liabilities to settle worth of 92000 so this student is not in a good situation so the similar concept that we can apply to an organization or a business in a business එකක තියෙන current assets business එකක තියෙන stocks තියෙනවා නැත්නම් inventories තියෙනවා debtors ලා තියෙනවා cash bank right or income receivable all are current assets ඒ වගේම business එකක මේ student තිබුණා වගේ current liabilities උත් තියෙනවා current liabilities right wages payable කරන්න ඕනේ wages payable supplier payments rent payable rent එක මාසේ rent එක ගෙවන්න වෙනවා electricity water all the utilities telephone payables so he need to have a good amount of current assets to settle the current liabilities මොකද ඔයාට බෑ ඔයාගේ non current assets cash කරලා මේවා settle කරන්න example එකක් විදිහට building එකේ business එකේ vehicle එකක් විකුණලා ඔයාට බෑ wages pay කරන්න employees ලගේ I think the same concept apply to a student as well නේද දැන් මෙහෙම වුණොත් student ප්‍රශ්නයක් වෙනවා එක්කෝ එයාගේ earnings වැඩි කරගන්න වෙනවා assets ටික නැත්නම් expenses cut down කරන්න වෙනවා මේ විදිහට so likewise when you apply to a business so it will be known as a current assets so you would have a sufficient amount of current assets to settle your current liabilities which are short term obligations because something like wages payable maybe you can like postpone like 5 maybe it's not to do like that but to some certain extent maybe you negotiate with the suppliers to some certain extent or maybe week or 2 weeks maximum but you cannot keep more than 6 9 10 months can you keep your electricity bill for like 10 months no so likewise you need to have a proper current assets a sufficient amount of current assets to the current liabilities now the current ratio is guys the current ratio is the ratio between your total current assets so current assets versus current liabilities මේකම අපිට කියන්න පුළුවන් current assets divided by your total current liabilities so CA means assets or මේ විදිහට පෙන්නන්නත් පුළුවන් or maybe as a percentage you can show this got that point so then we believe that you need to have a proper requirement දැන් මේක අනිත් පැත්ත වෙන්නත් පුළුවන් සමහරවිට ඔයාලට current assets ගොඩක් තියෙනවා current liabilities ටිකයි. එහෙනම් ඔයා දැනගන්න ඕනේ assets proper method එකක invest කරන්න. So guys, can we have this one please? Liquidity ratios, can we write the topic? So there are two types of liquidity ratios, current ratio and quick ratio. So this is, to get an idea about this one as a student, and this as a business, you have, some short-term obligations to fulfill. So in order to fulfill short-term obligation, you have to utilize short-term assets, not the long-term assets. Now, vehicle එක building එක sell කළා business එකේ vehicle එක විකුණලා business එකේ assets විකුණාට business එක කරගෙන යන්න බෑ. For that you need to have the current assets. So shall we just have this? So then we'll do some question to practice. So this is current ratio, right? Then current ratio කියන්නේ the relationship between current assets and current liabilities of a business. එහෙනම් මේක මේ විදිහට ලියන්නත් පුළුවන් නැත්නම් current assets divided by current liabilities. So how strong you are to settle your current obligations? Yeah, so this student find really difficult at this moment, just having a 7,000 of a current asset to pay his, obligations. Right. So, well, let's come back to our tute. I hope you're done with writing. Yes, if you have any unclear points, just raise. I can explain you. Now here for you to write the current ratio, which is the method of calculating, which is your current assets divided by current liabilities. So current ratio, current assets divided by your current liabilities. Now, guys, there's a standard way that we believe that an organization, the presence of the current assets equal to the twice of the current liabilities. Current liabilities වගේ දෙගුණයක් තිබුණා නම් current assets, that's acceptable level. So current ratio equals to 2 is the appropriate level. ඒ කියන්නේ ඔයාලගේ තියෙන්න ඕනේ ඔයාගේ liabilities වගේ දෙගුණයක්. ඒක මේ student ළඟ හරියට assets කීයක් තියෙනවද? 92,000 into 2 තිබුණා නම් අන්න that's the accepted ratio. That's the appropriate way. If a business. right? දැන් අපි මෙතනටත් figures ටිකක් දාගෙන මේ බලන්න. Right, so I clear this part. දැන් මෙතනින් එහාට මේක වැඩක් නැහැනේ. අපි කතා කරන්නේ business ගැනනේ. So appropriate level එක තමයි twice as current liabilities. ඒ කියන්නේ current assets තියෙන්න ඕනලු current liabilities වගේ දෙගුණයක්. Which means that current assets divided by CL answer එක දෙක වුණා නම් හරි. පැහැදිලිද? එතකොට දෙකට ඉතින් පොඩක් අඩු වෙන්නත් පුළුවන්, වැඩි වෙන්නත් පුළුවන්. නමුත් දෙකට කොට දැන් හිතන්න ඔයාලගේ තියෙනවා ඔයාගේ current ratio එක 5යි. ඒ කියන්නේ ඒක ටිකක් too much නේද? ඇයි? Because appropriate level is 2. But we have 5 times as much as the liabilities. Or the liabilities වගේ පස්කුණේ assets තියෙනවා. ඉතින් එහෙනම් ඔයාලා දැන් පුළුවන් ඒක to invest, to think about another opportunity because you have so much of a current assets, but you have a less current liabilities. So you have to think of a way of investing. පැහැදිලිද? ඒ වගේම ඔයාගේ ratio එක 1.1 නැත්නම් 0 point below 1. ඒ කියන්නේ ඔයා ඊටම දරුණු තත්ත්වයක ඉන්නේ. නැත්නම් ඔයාගේ ආසය කියන 0 එහෙම නැත්නම් 1. ඒ කියන්නේ ඔයාගේ ගාන්ටම current assets සමානයි current liabilities. හැදින්නේ මම කියන්නේ ඔයාගේ අතේ ගානටම සල්ලි තියෙන. අනේ මගේ වැඩක් හිතන්න. නේද? ඔයා බජට් කරන ට්‍රිප් එකක් යන්න. හැබැයි අපි කියක් හරි වැඩිපුර අතේ තියා ගන්නවා නේද? Something like that. Otherwise, පොඩ්ඩක් හිතන්න කොහරි ගියා මොනාරි transport එක කැඩුනා නැත්නම් මොනාරි vehicle එකට tire එකක් දාන්නද ඒ වගේ හදිසි දෙයක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. So if we exactly plan, we'll be that's at a risk. So likewise, you need to always make sure you have twice as liabilities all your current assets. හැබැයි මේක වැඩි වෙන්නත් වැඩි හොඳ නැහැ අඩු වෙන්නත් හොඳ නැහැ. ඒත් මේක ඔයාලට බලන්න පුළුවන් මේ විදිහට ඇත්තටම කැල් කරලා. එහෙනම් මට කියන්න ඔයාගේ financial statements වල statement of financial position එකේ තමයි ඔයාගේ assets ගැන mention වෙන්නේ. හරි මම ඒකත් පොඩ්ඩක් මෙතන explain කරන්නත් මේ බලන්න. Guys, there are 5 elements of accounting. One are the assets, equity, liability, income, and expenses. How did that? So out of these 5 main elements, assets, equity, liability represent in the SOFP. මතකද අපි අර statements තුනක් ලියුවා SOFP income statement and the cash flow statement කියලා. So income expenses තියනවාගේ income statement එක නැත්නම් profit and loss statement කියලා අපි කියනවා. Right? Profit and loss statement දෙක මේකයි. පැහැදිලිද? එහෙනම් now where to find the current assets? Right? So from the SOFP. එනවාට SOFP එකක් දීලා තියෙනවා. එහෙනම් එතනදි බලන්න වෙනවා කොච්චරක් assets තියෙනවද කියලා. Because why we do, divide the assets saying current assets and non-current assets. ඒ වගේම liabilities also say current liabilities and non-current liabilities. Then current liabilities can current assets can stocks, debtors, cash, bank වගේ දේවල්. Non-current assets can වගේ fixed assets අපිට කියන්න පුළුවන්. Vehicle වෙන්න පුළුවන්, land. එතකොට දැන් ඔයගේ මාසේ electricity bill එක ගෙවන්න බෑ land එක sell කරලා. So likewise those belong to the non-current assets. This is something for students who have little knowledge about accounting. This also you can take. Then අපි practical example එකකට හරි හිතන්න මේ business එකේ හරි අපි ඉක්මනට quickly දාගමු මේකට amounts කීපයක් ඒ වගේම ඔයාලට එන්න පුළුවන් page number මම මේ screen එකේ දාන්නම්. මම example එකක් දාලා තියෙනවා අන්තිමටම. ගැස්නේ බලන්න. Example. So here you have an income statement. හරි නම් මෙතන මොනවද තියෙන්නේ? Right? You have income and expenses. Sales, right? Your cost of sales. And finally, you have your profit. And here you have a SOFP, statement of financial position. Not again, assets, as you can see, right? Assets, equity, and liability. So you have assets, non-current assets, current assets. Then you have equity, and then you have non-current liabilities and current liabilities. So then you got this one. Well, now let's think about this. Amounts keep at the stocks, 50,000. Debtors 100,000, cash 25, bank 10,000. Right? Or liability wages pay karana 30,000. Supplier payments and accounts payable 80,000. Or rent take a payable karana rent payable 25. All utilities bill, let's say 12,000. Guys, shall we calculate the current ratio of this business? Let's see. So then you have to take all the current assets, you have to divide it by the current liabilities. And I'm order SOFP assets පැත්ත ගිහලා current assets බලන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ වගේම liability එකට ගිහලා current liabilities බලන්න පුළුවන්. මම ඒකත් ඔයාලට පෙන්නන්නම් කොහොමද ඒ ටික ගන්න කියලා. Right, so now can we calculate ABC business current ratio? Yeah, current assets divided by current liabilities. මට කියන්න මොනවද current assets ටික එනම්? So 50, 100,000, 25, 10. හරි බලන්න කීයක් එනවද current assets? Is that 185? 185 divided by current liabilities. So you got like 110. Total current liabilities. 25 plus 12, 147,000. So then what is the answer? Is that 1.26? 185 divided by 147. Yes, 1.26 kilo. දැන් බා වෙන්න බවට එක්සෑම් එකේදී business studies වල calculators use කරන්න දෙන්නේ නැහැ. හැබැයි business studies වල එන්නේ ගානටම බෙදෙන ඒවා. දැන් මෙතන මම randomly නේ මේවා ගත්තේ. ඒක දෙන්න ලස්සනට බෙදලා යනවා ලේසි ගානක් දෙන්න. ඒ කියන්නේ බය වෙන්න එපා. නැත්නම් ඔයාලා කොහොමද මේක බෙදලා ගන්න කියලා. 1.26 guys 1.26. මට කියන්න එහෙනම් මේ business එක is this business in a good situation or not? මට කියන්න is this business in a good situation? Nah, not in a good situation. Why? Because the appropriate level is 2. You know, they need to have current assets as twice as the current liabilities. Have a method 1.26 times. මොකද ආර value බලනකොට පේනවා නේද 185 current assets but they have 147. දෙගුණයක් නැහැ. පැහැදිලිද? එහෙනම් current ratio එක 1.26. So we can comment. This is not the appropriate level because appropriate level is 2 තමයි appropriate level එක. එතන 1.9 2.1 ඒ වගේ shape ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. Right. So 1.26. Right. දැන් අපි බලමු example එකට ගිහිල්ලා කොහොමද අපි financial statements වලින් මේවා extract කරගෙන ගාණක් හදන්නේ කියලා. Right? Because if in case that if you are provided with the financial statement, how you go and grab the things. Correct? හරි. එහෙනම් ඔයාලට තියෙනවානේ ඔයාගේ SOFP එක. එතනින් පුළුවන් ඔයාලට current assets සහ current liabilities ගන්න. අපි ඒ වගේ ගාණක් කරමු. හරි. මම example එක දාන්නම් screen එකට. Now, so I'll give like 1 minute to complete this one. Yes, if you have any questions, especially the students who haven't studied accounting previously, might have some questions, unclear points. Well, right. Now here's your page number 19 and 20. Sorry, page number 20 and 21. Mama screen එක දාන්නම්. මේ බලන්න. දැන් අපිට income statement එක බලන්න තියනවද නැහැ? income statement එක අවශ්‍ය වෙන්නේ නැහැ මෙතනදී. මොකද income statement එකේ තියෙන income and expense. මොකද profit is the difference between income and expense no. So out of the 5 elements, income and expenses in the income statement. So then we have to refer the SOFP. Why? Because in the FOFP, you have assets, equity, and liabilities. So like we know, assets, assets, අපි කොටස් දෙකකට බෙදලා non-current assets, NCA and CA, which is current assets. එහෙනම් මේ තියෙන current assets. බලන්න කීයක් තියෙනවද මේ business එකේ current assets? Stock is a current asset. Debtors, prepaid expenses, cash in hand. I think it's 100,000. Am I correct? Yes. Yeah. Shall you write then? මොකද්ද මේ business එකේ නමක් නම් දීලා නැහැ. අපි දාගමු X business කියලා XY business. XY business. Right. මේ බලන්න එහෙනම් අපිට තියෙනවා current assets 100,000. Current assets 100,000. And after balance current assets divided by current liabilities, current assets 100,000. හරි එහෙනම් බලමු current liabilities කොයිද current liabilities තියෙන්නේ? current liabilities තියෙනම current liabilities තියෙන්නේ ඔයගේ SOFP එකේම තමයි. මේ තියෙන මෙතන. So liabilities කොටස් දෙකයි long term නැත්නම් non current liabilities. ඒ කියන්නේ අපිට bank loan එකක් වගේ අවුරුද්දකට වැඩි කාලයක් ගන්නවානේ. So non current කියලා කියන අවුරුද්දකට වැඩි liabilities. අවුරුද්දක අඩුවට අපි කියනවා current liabilities. So we have creditors. Creditors වල pay කරන්න තියෙනවා. Interest payable, accrued expenses and tax payable. right? ඔක්කොම payables බලන්න මෙතන කීයක් එනවද කියලා total එක I think that need to be 50,000 not 5,000 so 20 plus 10 plus 4 plus 16 yes 50 නේද මේක 50 වෙනවා 50 50 හරි ඒ කියන්නේ කොහොමද එනම් මේ බලන්න so current assets divided by current liabilities 50 දැන් ගන්නට එනවා නේද proper තියෙනවා කීයද current ratio is 2 so they have current assets as twice as current liabilities current liabilities වගේ දෙගුණයක් තියෙනවා current assets නැත්නම් දෙක so this is the appropriate or the proper way guys shall we have this please appropriate way Right guys, are we clear about that current ratio කියලා කියන්නේ the ratio between current assets and current liabilities. එහෙනම් ඒකේ appropriate ratio එක දෙකක් තියෙන්න ඕනේ. එහෙනම් දෙකට ගොඩාක් වැඩි වුණත් හොඳ නැහැ. අඩු වෙන්නත් බෑ. පැහැදිලිද? right. මෙන්න අපි යන අපේ දෙවෙනි liquid ratio එක quick ratio එකට. quick ratio. දැන් මම යාට practicals insight එකක් දෙන්නේ. මොකද මෙතන accounting නැති students ලා ඉන්න නිසා practically මේක අපි කරමු. නැත්නම් ඊට ඉක්මනට අපිට මේක quickly කරන්න පුළුවන්. Right? But I'll take some time to explain. හරි දැන් මේ බලන්න. අපි දන්නවා what comes under current assets. Current assets. මම ඔයාලට usually කියනවා current assets වල තියෙන cash. Right? Cash. Bank balance. Debtors. ඒ වගේම end of year stock එක. It's a current asset. End of year stock. Right? ඒ වගේම තියෙන පුළුවන් සමහර prepaid expenses. Prepaid expenses. හරි මේ පොඩ්ඩක් අහන්න බලන්න. දැන් අපි දන්නවානේ liquidity එක cash වල තමයි වැඩිම liquid එකක් තියෙන්නේ cash වල. ඊට පස්සේ bank debtors හැබැයි මම මෙහෙම ප්‍රශ්නයක් ඊට ඉස්සෙල්ලා මට කියන්න මොකද්ද prepaid expense කියලා කියන්නේ prepaid expenses කියන්නේ අපි expense එකක් කලින් ගෙවලා so it's kind of an asset for us asset දැන් හිතන්න right ඔයා building එකක් rent කරලා තියෙනවා ඔයා ජුලයි rent එකක් ගෙවලා දැනටම ජුලයි rent එකක් දැනටම ගෙවලා 15,000 තාම ජූන් නේ ඔයා ජූන් ජුලයි දෙකම එකට පේ කරලා ජූන් 15,000 ජුලයි 15,000 පැහැදිලිද right එතකොට අපි කියනවා ඒ වගේ එකක් අපිට ඇසෙට් එකක් කියලා ඔයා එහෙම කරන එක්සෝ ඔයාට ඇසෙට් එකක් ඒක මොකද කලින් ගෙවලා තියෙන්නේ prepaid expenses හැබැයි මේක ඇසෙට් එකක් වුණාට ලික්විඩිටි එක හරියම අඩුයි ඒකේ ඇයි මොකද ඔයා කවදාවත් මේක ආපහු ඉල්ල ගන්න බෑ ඔයාට ඉල්ල ගන්න පුළුවන් බැරි නෑ නමුත් ඔයා කරන්නේ ජුලයි වලට මේක තියාගන්න කියලා දෙන එක පැහැදිලිද නැත්තම් ඔයා මේ බලන්න මම ජුලයි වලට ඔයාගේ රෙන්ට් එක පේ කරා මට ඒකෙන් දෙන්න පුළුවන් ද 10,000 හදිසියක් කියලා ඉල්ල ගන්න chance එක අඩුයි it will considered as a current assets but the liquidity is quite less liquidity එකක් අඩුයි ඒක මොකද cash වලට convert කරගන්න දෙයක් අමාරු වැඩක් ඔයා කරන්නේ ජුලයි ඉඳලා ජුලයි වලට කියන මෙන්න ජුලයි rent අපේ rent payment එක කියලා එහෙම නැත්නම් ඒක ආපහු ඉල්ල ගන්න chance එක අඩුයි එහෙනම් liquidity එක අඩුයි ඒ වගේම end of year stock එකත් cash වලට convert වෙන්න අපිට කාලයක් ගත වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඒතර ඒක වැටෙන්නේ ඊළඟ අවුරුද්දටනේ. ඊළඟ අවුරුද්දේ sale එක තමයි ඒක අයිති වෙන්නේ. දැන් මම market pen sell කරනවා මම ළඟ market pens 4ක් ඉතුරුයි ඒක ඊළඟ අවුරුද්දේ තමයි sell වෙන්නේ. හරි එහෙනම් අපි බලනවා out of the current assets low liquidity assets අපි අයින් කරනවා. මේ බලන්න. එහෙනම් cash කියන්නේ high liquid asset එකක්. bank balance debtors මෙන්න මේ දෙක අපි අයින් කරනවා මොකද්ද reason එක අපි කියනවා මේවා low liquidity assets කියලා low liquid assets කියන්නේ මේවා cash කරගන්න ටිකක් අමාරුයි කාලයක් යනවා කාලයක් ඇත්තටම prepaid expenses නම් cash වෙන්නෙම නැහැ right ඉතින් ඒක ඊළඟ month එක ඔයාලට pay කරන්න අවශ්‍ය නැහැ that's the only thing ඔයා ගිලායි මේකින් සල්ලි ඉල්ලන්න යන්නේ නැහැ හරිද එතකොට අපි කියනවා current assets වලින් or low liquid assets අඩු කරොත් එනවා උත්තරයක් අපි ඒකට කියනවා liquid assets කියලා. මේ බලන්න current assets වලින් low liquid assets අඩු කරනවා current assets low liquid assets So mainly we consider only two end of year stock and the prepaid expenses. Well, හරි එහෙනම් මේ බලන්න ඔයාගේ quick ratio එක කොහොමද quick ratio එක අපි හදන්නේ? Quick ratio is something where your liquid assets divided by current liabilities. Liabilities වෙනස් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. So quick ratio is something your liquid assets divided by current liabilities. පැහැදිලිද? right. එහෙනම් අපි මොකද කරන්නේ? අර current assets වලින් දෙන්නෙක්ව අයින් කරා. කවුද දෙන්න? End of year stocks are prepaid expenses. පැහැදිලිද වැඩේ? එහෙනම් liquid assets මෙන්න liquid assets අපි ගන්න විදිහ liquid assets ගන්න විදිය. හරි දැන් අපි හිතමු example එකකට අපි යමු එනවා. හරි මම මේක remove කරනවා. shortly අපි new example එකකට යමු. right. quick ratio. එහෙනම් ABC business එකේ තියෙනවා cash 10,000 bank 25,000 debtors මම මේ ටික මෙහෙමම ගන්නවා amount එකක් එක්ක 12,000 end of year stock 8,000 prepaid expenses 5,000 දැන් මට කැල්කුලේට් කරන්න current assets මුලින්ම එහෙනම් මේක අපි current assets කියලා. ඒ වගේම අපිට liabilities ටිකක් මෙතන ගන්න වෙනවා. අපිට තියෙනවා creditors ලාට pay කරන්න. right? ඊට පස්සේ wages වගේ payable. අපේ bank overdraft එක, bank OD එක අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම current liability එකක්. ඒ වගේම expenses payable. අපි දැන් මේ ටික ගමු. creditors ලා ඉන්නවා business එකේ 35,000 wages payable 16,000 bank OD එකක් තියෙනවා අපිට 4,000 වල පැහැදිලිද? එහෙනම් මෙන්න current liabilities කීයද? 2055 CL මොකද CL කියන්නේ current liabilities. CA කියන current assets කීයද? මෙතන තියෙනවා 20 25 50 60 නේද? 60 මෙතන මම පොඩ්ඩක් creditors ලාගේ value එක අඩු කරගන්නම්. මම මේක ගන්නවා 50 කියලා. 15 නැත්නම් කියන්නේ ආට මෙතන ඉන්නේ 35. හරි දැන් කොහොමද අපි quick ratio එක හදන්නේ? එහෙනම් මෙතන අපි දැනගන්න වෙනවා මෙන්න මේ දෙක exclude කරන්න. මොනවාද? end of year stock එකයි prepaid expenses, even though end of year stock and the prepaid expenses is current assets. So when we try to calculate liquid assets, we try to eliminate those two. හරි එහෙනම් මේ බලන්න. එහෙනම් මේ දෙක අඩු කරොත් අපිට එනවා කීයද? liquid assets. Liquid assets එනවා 60,000 minus 8 plus 5 which is 13. Right? එතකොට ලැබෙනවා 47. දැන් අපිට පුළුවන් liquid එක 47,000 divided by current liabilities. ඒක වෙනස් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඒක කලින් විදියමයි 35. හරි බලන්න වාට කීය දෙන්නේ කියලා. $47,000 divided by 35 නේද? 1.34. හරි මේ බලන්න මේකටත් තියෙන appropriate level එකක්. The appropriate level is just 1. ඒ කියන්නේ ඇත්තටම ඔයාලට current liabilities උයි ඔයාගේ quick liquid to එක සමාන වුණාට ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. right? එහෙනම් standard appropriate level එක එකයි. මෙතන 1.34 තියෙන ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. shape අවුලක් නැහැ. ලොකුවට වැඩිත් නැහැනේ. හරි එහෙනම් මොකද්ද quick ratio කියලා කියන්නේ? So how quickly you can convert. ඒක නවට පැහැදිලි current ratio එකට වඩා ටිකක් practical quick ratio එක. මොකද even though when you say current assets, because there's no chance that you can convert into cash end of years, you can convert but it will take time, and also prepaid expenses never. So then you try to skip those two and get only the liquid assets. So for that you divide it by current liabilities. So we say the appropriate level is 1. එනම් ඔයාට current liabilities වලට හරියන liquid assets තිබුණා නම් ඇති. right? Or else this part එහෙනම් මෙතන appropriate level එක එකයි. හරි අපිට පුළුවන් මේකත් දාගන්න. Yes, can you have this please? එහෙනම් appropriate ratio එක එකයි. appropriate right guys මොකක්ද දෙනා මතක තියාගන්න අවශ්‍ය current assets වලින් ඔයාට දෙකක් අඩු කරන්න වෙනවා end of year stock සහ prepaid expenses. ඔයාගේ exam එකේ කෙලින්ම දුන්නා නම් liquid assets කියලා කෙලින්ම මේක ගන්න පුළුවන්. ආපහු අඩු කරන්න අවශ්‍ය නැහැ. Right? Here how we get the liquid assets. Quick ratio. I hope guys you are clear. හරි බලන්න Qt එකේ තව explanation එකක් තියෙනවා වල දීලා. Yes, are we done with this? Shall I come back to the Qt? I hope you saw. This ratio shows the relationship between the current liabilities and the liquid assets. Now you know how to calculate. So assets with very low liquidity that are in current assets are removed when right guys, there's having a power cut. Just give me 1 second. Right, we are almost done with the session. Right. හරි බලන්න මොනවාද මම හිතනවා I can open, right? You can open from the WhatsApp. Yeah, this thing. හරි මොනවාද එතන කියන්නේ? So we remove the low liquid assets. එනම් මේ තියෙන low liquid assets දෙක අයින් කරනවා. Usually we consider end of year stock and the prepaid expenses. දැන් සමහර මෙහෙම වෙන්න පුළුවන්. Prepaid expenses නැති වෙන්න පුළුවන්. එහෙම වුණොත් you only deduct end of year stock. සමහරට end of year stock නැති වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඒතකොට you only deduct prepaid expenses. සමහරට මේ දෙකම නැති වෙන්නත් පුළුවන් business sector. ඒ කියන්නේ කලින් ගෙවපු expenses උත් නැහැ, end of year stock එකකුත් නැහැ. ඔක්කොම purchases වා sell කරලා ඉවරයි. එහෙම situation එකකදී current assets equal liquid assets because there are no end of year stock or prepaid. පැහැදිලිද? ඉතින් එහෙම situations වෙන්න පුළුවන් practically. හරි මොකක්ද එහෙනම් appropriate level එක බලන්න මොකක්ද කියන්නේ? It is generally accepted that the presence of equal amount of current liabilities and liquid assets, the presence of quick ratio equal to 1 is appropriate. Please write the appropriate level is 1. So for the same amount of liquid assets with the current liabilities, එකක් තිබ්බනම් තමයි appropriate level එක. හැබැයි එකට පොඩ්ඩක් වැඩි වෙලා නැත්නම් 0.9 ඒ වගේ තිබ්බට ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. ඒකට වඩා ගොඩාක් වැඩි වෙන්නත් බෑ. ඒ කියන්නේ ඔයගේ assets නිකන් තියනවා ඒවා utilize කරලා නැහැ කියන අදහස තමයි එකෙන් දෙන්නේ. Well, so with that guys we can wind up to this session. එතන අපිට ඊළඟට මෙතනින් ඉවරයි ඔයගේ liquidity ratios, only two things, current and quick. ඊට පස්සේ අපි කතා කරනවා profitability ratios ගැන. Monday we'll discuss profitability ratios. Okay guys, thank you for joining and we'll see